Underway. State Public Service Commissioner Jane Eskind, a Democrat, today became the first to officially enter the governor's sweepstakes. Mrs. Eskind will forego running for re-election to the PSC in order to enter the Democratic gubernatorial race. The question, is Tennessee ready for a woman governor?
I'm not going to be a woman governor. I'm going to be a governor who is a woman. I think when I first ran for public office, people said, oh, Tennessee is not ready to elect a woman, and then Tennessee turned around and elected me. And I think that the conventional wisdom is not always accurate and precise. I think very often the people of this state are ahead of the wise political heads.
Mrs. Eskind says she will not accept contributions from political action committees during her race. At least 5 other Democrats and 1 Republican are also in the governor's race, but unofficially.
Well, one of those unofficial candidates was doing a little politicking this afternoon. Nashville Mayor Richard Fulton gave the commencement address at the Tennessee Prison for Women. Channel 2's Jessica Etz tells us Fulton is critical about how the recent prison uprisings were handled.
It was a proud day for the 33 inmate graduates who received their high school and vocational diplomas. There was even 1 college graduate, a real achievement from behind prison bars. Of the 34 graduates, 13 have already been released. Mayor Richard Fulton, looking very much like a gubernatorial candidate, told the crowd that the accomplishments of these grads is proof that rehabilitation programs work, and says he would push for more.
I'd like to see more done in the rehabilitation program. It's something that I think most of the studies that have been made said that we were lacking in. You know, rehabilitation. We should never lose hope, I don't think, on anyone.
Fulton says he doesn't think the recent prison uprisings were handled well, and says if he were in charge of the state, he would build new prison facilities, adding he believes taxpayers would support the plan.
Well, I think they'd rather have that than to have early release for those that have been convicted to serve long terms and serve just a minimum amount of time and are turned out on the streets again because of overcrowded conditions. That's certainly not, that's not what I would call good business.
The mayor emphasized he believes prisons in Tennessee can be improved without a tax increase, something that he was able to do in Nashville. Says he'll be able to do that all across the state. At the Tennessee Prison for Women, Jessica Etz, Channel 2 News.
Well, it was more than just...
Commission Chairman Jane Eskind today announced that she will run for the Democratic nomination for governor in 1986. We'll be reporting on that story and other news on The Scene at 6, coming up in 30 minutes following NBC Nightly. The governor steps forward.
Also tonight, a man is arrested.
Contender to enter the Democratic gubernatorial race, and it could cost one.
They announced that she will run for the Democratic nomination for governor in 1986. Though there are many possible gubernatorial candidates, Eskind is the first to officially announce she's running. And as Bob Jacobs reports, today's announcement puts Eskind in pretty tough company, but a tough political race is nothing new for her.
But I think it's important, once you make a decision, once you make a commitment, once you decide you're going to run, not to equivocate about it, but to say, I am running and this is how I'm going to run my campaign and this is what I care about.
And with that, Jane Eskind, chairman of the state's Public Service Commission, announced her plans to run for governor in 1986. But though she may be the first to announce candidacy, she's behind in raising money, a problem that may have been compounded by her stand of not accepting money from political action committees, or PACs.
I think that puts you in an untenable position where you cannot represent all of the interests of Tennessee, where your commitment or the implication is that you have an indebtedness not to the people of Tennessee, but to special interest groups, special industries.
Mrs. Eskind was administered the oath of office by...
Eskind has been on the Public Service Commission since 1981, and this is not her first try at a major political office.
They're concerned about that. They're concerned that they're only being asked for their opinion at vote time, but then they're largely ignored afterwards.
In 1978, she became the first woman to win a statewide race in Tennessee when she won the right to run against incumbent Howard Baker and his seat for the U.S. Senate. Eskind defeated 2 men in her bid for the Democratic nomination.
Even though we lost the election...
Eskind lost that election, but not by much. She managed to pull in over 40% of the vote, proving she could woo voters. And she'll need it in this race because she'll be up against some tough male opposition.
I'm prepared and ready to go.
That will take. Speaker Ned Ray McWhirter is a front-runner among political insiders. Nashville Mayor Richard Fulton continues his testing of the waters for a race in '86. And fellow Public Service Commission member Frank Cochran,
State to stop
run for governor, have gone far beyond.
District Attorney
We can't rule out the possibility that former Governor Winfield Dunn might take another try next year for the Republicans. But today, it was Eskind who went on the offensive.
If I have been effective, and I think I have, in presenting myself, my campaign, my candidacy, what I'm about, what my dreams and goals are about, then said something to the people of Tennessee that they've been responsive to, so much the better.
Bob Jacobs, Channel 4 News.
Tennessee inmate.
Commissioner Jane Eskind made her candidacy for governor official today. Eskind filed papers with the Secretary of State's office, and she's already taking a stand on some campaign issues. Corinne Russell reports.
Jane Eskind announced her candidacy more than 1 year before the Democratic primary in the governor's race. Some people consider it awfully early, and Eskind admits the length of the campaign will bring some disadvantages, like a higher cost. But she says the early announcement has some benefits, too.
Really felt I owed it to the people who wanted to support me to stand up and say I'm going early so that they have a place to hang their hat, and I feel that I owed it to those people who wanted to run for the Public Service Commission.
It may be early, but Eskind is already making her point of view known on at least one issue, campaign finances. She's pledging not to accept any money from political action committees.
I can more fairly be committed to representing the people of this state.
Competition for money and supporters in this race will be tough, particularly with Mayor Richard Fulton, who draws votes from the same Middle Tennessee area.
I'd rather she not, but you know, I expect to see a lot of it during the period of time from now till August of '86.
Even so, Fulton says he won't change his plans. The same holds true for another contender, one of the frontrunners, Tennessee House Speaker Ned Ray McWhirter.
Anytime you have a person or more than one running on a ballot, it just makes you work harder.
They all have political experience. In addition to being Public Service Commissioner, Eskind made a strong but unsuccessful bid for the U.S. Senate in 1978. For this upcoming Democratic primary, it looks like there will be 3 other candidates, bringing the field to 6. Jackson Mayor Bob Conger, Public Service Commissioner Frank Cochran, and Shelby County Mayor Bill Morris have also talked of running. Right now, all the hopefuls appear rather friendly, but they seem to realize that the Democratic troops could become somewhat splintered before they face their Republican opposition. So some of the candidates are already pledging a somewhat peaceful primary. Corinne Russell, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And we'll be back with more news in just a moment.
A young family will be trying to make a life for themselves here. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's mortgage, furniture, food, clothing, doctor bills, and maybe later college. The things they need the most cost the most. If we can contain those costs, we can give all families a chance to build their own future.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
This is one of the most expensive places to stay in Tennessee. Rooms here average $190 a night. If you need to stay here a month or longer, it could wipe out your whole life savings. National health insurance could ease that burden. Because if you have to stay here, money is the last thing you should be worrying about.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
If you have youngsters, you know that food is one of those purchases you just can't postpone. No matter how much grocery prices go up, you still have to buy food. The inflation fight has to start with the basics in life. because no one should be able to charge us whatever they want for the things we can't do without.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
Whenever I go shopping, I remember why I'm a Democrat. Our party's always been for the little guy. Right now, the Senate is deciding whether or not to take the lid off energy prices or pass a health care plan or how to change the tax laws. With all the powerful lobbyists in Washington, little guys need every vote they can get. They've got mine.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
A young family will be trying to make a life for themselves here. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's the mortgage, furniture, food, clothing, doctor bill, and maybe later college. The things they need the most cost the most. If we can contain those costs, we can give all families a chance to build their own future.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
This is one of the most expensive places to stay in Tennessee. Rooms here average $190 a night. If you need to stay here a month or longer, it could wipe out your whole life savings. National health insurance could ease that burden. Because if you have to stay here, money is the last thing you should be worrying about.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
If you have youngsters, you know that food is one of those purchases you just can't postpone. No matter how much grocery prices go up, you still have to buy food. The inflation fight has to start with the basics in life, because no one should be able to charge us whatever they want for the things we can't do without.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
Whenever I go shopping, I remember why I'm a Democrat. Our party's always been for the little guy. Right now, the Senate is deciding whether or not to take the lid off energy prices or pass a health care plan or how to change the tax laws. With all the powerful lobbyists in Washington, little guys need every vote they can get. They've got mine.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
There's danger on our highways. Deadly phosgene, explosive butane, radioactive wastes, rolling past our homes, our businesses, our schools. The state agency that's supposed to regulate trucks on our streets is the Public Service Commission. The person who wants to make sure they do is Jane Eskind. Jane Eskind, for the public, the Public Service Commission.
These days, we've all got to tighten our belts, consumers and businesses alike. The same goes for utilities. They're entitled to a fair return on their investment, but these are difficult times. When utilities raise their rates these days, a lot of people get hurt. The utilities are going to have to learn to tighten their belts, just like the rest of us.
Jane Eskind, for the public, the Public Service Commission. She led the most successful voter registration drive in the state's history. She worked with one organization to modernize Tennessee's election laws and another to streamline our courts. She serves on the board of the Nashville Urban League and works with a private agency to strengthen family life. Public service has been her whole life, a life she'll continue on the Public Service Commission. Jane Eskind, for the public, the Public Service Commission. Jane Eskind, for the public, the Public Service Commission.
By the time he graduates from high school, he will have spent 15,000 hours in front of his television set and only 11,000 hours in front of his teachers. We're in a war for our children's minds. To compete, Tennessee needs the best educational system we can get. I'm Jane Eskind, and I want to help us win that war in the United States Senate.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.
Every 60 seconds, the federal government spends over $750,000. At this rate, by the end of the year, Washington will have spent $402 billion. I'm Jane Eskind, and I'm running for the Senate because I want to put a limit on federal spending. At the rate they're going, we can't waste another minute.
Jane Eskind, Democrat for the Senate, for Tennessee.